welcome once again to another edition of Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 33-year veteran writer, artist, creator, publisher, talent scout, and all sorts of things for comic, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. It's been a long day. Spectrum does not like us this week at all.
Nope.
Stuff out of our show. And Monster Fan says, Spectrum hates everyone.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. Who's worse, Spectrum or our government? I don't know. Either way, it's a horror show.
Spectrum is the government.
Yeah, it probably is. But anyway, my co-host, as always, John Figueroa Norris, and the Color Commando, Christopher
Hello,
Hall.
everyone.
Hello, everybody.
And tonight,
and it's a cookbook. It's a cookbook.
Okay. Yeah. If I'm a little bit off, it's because I had to have eye exam today, and my eye still hasn't completely gone back from the dilation yet, so it's a little bit crazy right now. But we're gonna be talking.
He showed me his eye. He showed me his pupil earlier, and I thought he was like possessed or something.
Yeah, you could not see the iris hardly at all.
Look into my deep black eyes.
Yeah. It was like, what the heck? What did you do? Become cat person?
Right? Yeah. Be gone, Satan.
Yeah, but anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the film for tonight, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors from 1965. Go ahead and read, Chris.
All right, this is Dr. Terror's House of Horrors from 1965, directed by Freddie Francis, written by Milton Subotsky, produced by Max Rosenberg and Milton Subotsky, starring Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, Max Adrian, Ann Bell, Peter Madden, Donald Sutherland, Roy Castle. Cinematography by Alan Hume, music by Elizabeth Lutyens. Production company is Amicus Productions, distributed by Regal Films International UK, and by Paramount Pictures in the United States. The release date was February 23rd, 1965 in the UK, February 28th, 1965 in the USA, running time of 98 minutes, and a budget of $105,209.
No, pounds.
Oh, pounds. Sorry, yeah, $82,835 US dollars.
In that era.
Yes.
Okay, where's my silly thing? What's it doing? There it is. It's just being fussy.
All right. You want me to read that?
Yeah.
Okay. What it's about. Dr. Terror's House of Horrors is a 1965 British. It's a British anthology horror film from Amicus Productions, the company's first, in which the film tells a number of stories, all intertwined. 5 men, one by one, enter a train compartment in a London station bound for the fictional town of Bradley, and are joined by a sixth, the mysterious Dr. Schreck, whose name he mentions is German for terror. During the journey, the doctor opens a pack of tarot cards, which he calls his House of Horrors, and proceeds to reveal the destinies of each of the travelers. This provides the framework to tell 5 horror stories. Part 1 is The Werewolf. Architect Jim Dawson returns to his old family home on a Scottish Isle to make renovations for the new owner, Mrs. Biddulph. Is that Biddulph? Yeah, Biddulph. Biddulph explains she bought the secluded house to help her recover from the death of her husband, to whose memory she would like to dedicate a newly enlarged room as a museum. Dawson finds a fake wall in the cellar, the coffin of the Count Cosmo Valdemar. Valdemar, the original owner of the house, was killed in a conflict with the Dawson family centuries ago. Local legend states that Valdemar would reclaim his former home and take revenge on the current owner. Dawson discovers that Valdemar is rising at night as a werewolf and has already killed a housemaid. Believing that Miss Bidulph to be in danger, he makes silver bullets out of an ancestral cross that was produced from the sword historically used to kill the monster. However, when the creature surges again from the tomb in the cellar, Dawson is baffled to find such bullets ineffective. He runs upstairs to protect Miss Bidulph within her room, but the lady reveals that she has replaced the ammunition with ordinary ones. She clarifies how the actual curse meant that Valdemar will take revenge on the last descendant of the Dawson clan, not on the current owner of the estate, and that his death and placement in Valdemar's coffin will fully restore the werewolf to life in human form. What it's about. It was all a trap. Bidulph is Valdemar's wife, who has returned from the grave after 200 years and proceeds to attack and kill Dawson.
Okay, you want to start with that? We want to talk about that one first, that part of the story first? Or do you
Yeah,
want to
I think.
read through it?
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Okay. What did you guys think of this one? This part of it?
You want to go first, John, or?
Yeah, let John go first.
It's like when I wrote my review, I kind of did it all as one.
Oh, okay.
I'll say, I won't say it was my favorite of the five.
Stories?
Yeah. I did like it. I thought it was an interesting take on the werewolf. I mean, I thought all five of them were interesting takes on the various horror tropes.
We'll get to that. Yeah, but let's just focus on the werewolf.
But yeah, I liked it. I mean, I don't really know what to say about it.
I personally, I thought this was the best one of the bunch. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the acting. I liked the. I liked the. Who is it? Who's you think this is the werewolf, but it's really the daughter. Yeah, I just like that aspect of it. So, I personally enjoyed this one the most.
Okay. I thought it was a little bit weird that the vampire, the werewolf is kind of playing like a vampire in this story.
A little bit.
Yeah, and it's like that was a little bit odd. But other than that, it was probably the most well-rounded of the stories, I think.
Yeah, I liked the male actor, so I'm a sucker for a Scottish accent. So
yeah, okay. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the next one, The Creeping Vine.
All righty. Bill Rogers and his wife and daughter return from their holiday to discover a fast-growing vine in the garden. When the plant seems to respond violently to attempts to cut it down, Rogers goes to the Ministry of Defense, where he gets advice from a couple scientists. The plant shows increasing signs of intelligence, murderous intent, and self-preservation. First killing the family dog, then one of the scientists, and finally snapping the telephone line, and then blocking all the windows and doors to the house. Fire appears for a few moments to scare it away, until that too becomes ineffective as the vine learns to put out the flame. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into that one. That one was this was kind of an inspiration for Audrey, I think, from Little Shop of Horrors.
You think so?
I do.
Oh, I just found this one ridiculous. It was just silly.
I think this is one where the campiness was probably most evident, but I mean it was still enjoyable, and it in a way made me think of the Moss from Mutiny in Outer Space.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think this was one of the two campiest entries.
I had to laugh because it's like, they're all trapped in the house together, and they're like, we'll find a way to get out of here. We'll do this, unity together. And then the guy discovers that fire can get him out of the house, and he's gone. It's like, screw you guys.
Yeah. I don't know. It's almost like we need the I can't think of his name, but the gay baker that we watch on YouTube sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
We must kill it with fire.
Fire! Yeah, right.
I would love to see him actually remake this and have him be those guys. It would be hilarious, but it'd be great to watch.
Yeah. Why don't you go play outside, honey? It's no fun without, like, the dog just is killed, and the parents are just like, it's no big deal, whatever,
Yeah, it's just a
dog.
Yeah. That's just the writing, It's like, that was just, we don't worry about dog. That was just a set piece.
Yeah, and you know what else cracked me up about this movie is, like, after every one, they're like, that's gonna happen to me. Oh my goodness! And then like he won't show him the death card and all that stuff, and
right.
And right after that, everyone's like,
Okay.
"Oh, say there, yeah, let me try that, yeah, let me say there, yeah, I want to try that."
Yeah. Okay, part 3.
Biff Bailey, name for the centuries, is a happy-go-lucky jazz musician who accepts a gig in the West Indies with his band. Upon witnessing a local voodoo ceremony, he loves the exotic rhythm and tries to pitch on the natives the idea to use it as a template for a new commercial music. Despite warnings not to steal the sacred tunes from the god, Biff tries to use them for a jazz performance back in London, overtly mocking that religion. The show is suddenly halted by a violently stormy wind, which makes the public flee, and leads Bailey as well to leave the stage and stumble into the streets until he comes across a garish poster for Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. He runs to the safety of his home, only to discover that there is more to come. The story may be based on the short story Papa Benjamin by Cornell Woolrich, which was also adapted by the television series Thriller and the radio series Suspense. The quintet of British jazz saxophonist Tubby Hayes appears as Bailey's backing band as well.
Monster Fan says, I don't like any media where a dog is killed. For instance, I rooted for Cujo.
Right.
All root for Cujo in that movie.
Yeah, it's like kill all the people you want, but if there's a dog gone, I'm like, nope.
Pop Culture Avenger says Suspense was a very good radio show. Yes, it was. Okay, we go. So let's go ahead and talk about that voodoo thing. I thought that was one of the worst of the 3 because it was just so cliched on the tropes of the era. Really not very racially divided.
Yeah, it was just slightly racist.
Yeah, but it was also just like that whole lack of understanding of that culture at all.
Right.
If you're going to write about it, know something about it. I mean, yes, have the character act like an ignorant, pompous prick. That's fine. But give the audience something that shows you know what you're writing about. I just didn't feel like they did.
And I enjoyed the music.
Oh,
I thought the music was good.
That's what made this segment for me. I absolutely loved the jazz music.
Yeah. And I'm not typically a jazz fan, but that was pretty good. So
yeah. So that was probably the best part of the music right there was probably the best part of the film.
Right.
Anyway. But
they hold ritual voodoos, ceremonies with barely dressed women.
Yes. It's like, what?
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, John, I'll let you go ahead and read the next one.
Part 4, Disembodied Hand. Pompous art critic Franklin Marsh seems more concerned with his own devastating wit than art itself. I'm sure we could say the same about several critics, but I digress. Um, Painter Eric Landor bears the brunt of one of Marsh's tirades, but gets even by humiliating the critic publicly. He shows that Marsh He shows that Marsh mistakes the work of a chimpanzee for modern art, and subsequently follows him at public speeches and social gatherings, silencing his contributions midway with shameful reminders of the error. Increasingly exasperated, finally, Marsh retaliates by running over Landor with his car, causing Landor to lose their right hand. Unable to paint anymore, Landor commits suicide. From this moment, Marsh is tormented by the disembodied hand of the artist, which seems immune to fire and any other attempts to contain it. In a last attack, while Marsh is driving, the car crashes and the broken window leads to Marsh's permanent blindness.
And that's the end of that one. So let's go ahead and say what we're going to say.
Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Right?
Yes, I can relate to this, right? Right?
I think all of us can relate to this.
Which one am I? Am I Marsh or am I Landor?
So first of all, this is the one that has Chistopher Lee in it. So right there, it's great. But again, it's like, I think, we all wish, all of us being artists of some sort, we all wish we could silence the critics, or make fun of them. So
absolutely, 100%. This was not. I didn't really. I don't know. I didn't really care for this one. Like I said, I fell asleep, and I was gonna write. I wrote what I thought was to Lewis, but I wrote Angie. I said, I'm trying to watch.
We'll get
okay, yeah.
We're going to get into the full overall effect in a little bit. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it was Lee kind of choose some scenery in this episode, I think. But that's kind of what they wanted from him. So
yeah, it wasn't just in the Hammer films that he chewed scenery.
Yeah. So okay, let's go to the last one. Part 5, vampire, not werewolf, vampire. Dr. Bob Carroll returns to his home in the United States with his new French bride, Nicole. Soon there is evidence that a vampire is on the loose, and Carroll seeks the aid of his colleague, Dr. Blake. They find proof that Nicole is the vampire, and she is at one point stalking Blake until being scared off when he raises his arms protectively and accidentally casts the shadow of a cross. Okay, sure. Alden is clearly shows that she is responsible, and following Blake's advice, Carroll tearfully stakes his beloved Nicole. But when the police come to arrest Carroll for his wife's murder, Blake denies giving any such advice. And as the police take Carroll away, he's screaming at him, "You bastard!" But he didn't say that. But Blake says to himself, "Well, this town isn't big enough for 2 doctors or 2 vampires." And he turns into a bat and goes away. Yeah, that one was like a really humorous Outer Limits Twilight Zone type thing.
Yeah, it definitely had some humor to it.
Yeah, but it was like, yeah, this is something I've seen this type of story feels like 100,000 times, but a lot of it more modern. So since this is so old, maybe this is where it first started was back then. So who knows? I don't want to say it's not a good story, because it wasn't a bad story. It was just
Right.
I've seen it so many times over the years that it feels a little bit like, it's just there.
This might have been fresh in 1963. You never know.
65, yeah.
Oh, was it 65? Okay, I was thinking 63. Yeah, it might have been fresh in 1965. So who knows?
Yeah.
And for me, Donald Sutherland is in this one, and it was one of his earliest films. And Donald Sutherland's always been one of those actors that is always worth watching, no matter what type of material he's given. And so I think he was the main reason I liked this part. Like, not that it was amazing, but I liked watching him.
Right.
Well, right. He wasn't amazing in it, but then he was like you say, it's one of his very first roles. So it's like, okay, we can see where he started from, basically, and that's interesting. Okay, it closes out with, after showing sympathy to all of his fellow passengers and attempting not to show them the prediction of death that all received from the Tarot's deck, Dr. Shrek informs the men that this would be the only way that they can escape the forecast of an even more horrible destiny. He then vanishes during a moment of darkness. Puzzled and fearful, the men have a moment of relief when a train stops, and they assume that to mean that they have reached their intended destination. However, at the station, they get out and they're alone in a dark, silent, and spooky atmosphere. The wind then carries a newspaper across the screen and has a report of an accident in which all of them died in a train wreck. Shrek reappears in a black mantle as he is revealed to be Death himself, and the men begin to slowly follow him into the darkness, which is a really cool ending, I think. But okay, John, what did you think of it overall?
All right. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I mean, no, it's not scary, or really, but it does have a level of creepiness. But I really thought it was fun. Like, I really did enjoy watching it. Yes, it's got a level of campiness, but I think the campiness is actually part of the charm for me. And you just mentioned Twilight Zone, but really, to me, this is more akin to Rod Serling's Night Galleries TV series, in that both are anthologies that use framing devices for their stories. Of course, Night Gallery has the gallery paintings, and this film has the tarot cards and the train ride. The cast is, I think, quite good. Anytime you have Peter Cushing and Chistopher Lee, it's at least watchable, I think. And like I said, it's interesting to see Donald Sutherland as one of his earliest films, especially given that we just lost him last year. So I streamed this. I watched this on Fandango at home, and the picture quality was absolutely beautiful. And this film is nicely shot in widescreen and Technicolor. Cinematographer Alan Hume and director Freddie Francis, who was a cinematographer himself, both have a nice visual sense, and both would go on to have extensive careers. Hume shot Return of the Jedi and 3 of the 80s James Bond films, while Francis had shot Jack Clayton's The Innocents and would go on to shoot The Elephant Man, Dune, and The Straight Story for David Lynch, among other things. And again, I have to say I enjoyed the jazz music in the Voodoo segment by the Tubby Hayes Quintet.
Okay, Chris, go ahead.
I said, this is what I typed, what I thought was to Lewis, and I typed it to Angie. I said, man, I'm trying to watch Dr. Terror, and even my freaking coffee is falling asleep. And I accidentally sent that to Angie, and she's like, who the fuck is Dr. Terror?
And my response is, now watch as Chris praises the film, even though he couldn't hardly stay awake.
Right.
I really expected you to. But okay. You didn't get your beauty sleep, did you, Chris?
No, I didn't. No. The first story, which dealt with a werewolf, was decent. The rest of the stories were just ridiculous and a snooze fest. The Vine and the Disembodied Hand were just plain silly. The Voodoo story, the band, the music was good. But the story was silly and kind of racist. Just a little bit, though I suppose that was expected for the time. Not much to say about the vampire story other than it too had a silly ending.
I let them go first because I'm smack dab between the two. I agree with a lot of what John had to say about what he likes about it. Night Gallery is not the right correlation per se, since that debuted in 1970, 5 years after this movie was made. Maybe this film inspired that concept for Sterling. I don't know. But yes, the anthology short for the film with connecting theme. In this case, the tarot card reader who is deaf did become a staple format in horror and TV shows like Night Gallery, Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, etc. I have to say I'm very surprised at Chris's reaction. I did expect the film to be what his thing would be, and well, you just heard it yourselves from him. Some of you were probably thinking that I mixed up the writing of the reviews and typed mine in his place. Or that I finally have broken through his mental defenses and now he thinks like me. Go ahead, Chris. What does that say?
That thought alone is scarier than anything there was in the movie. Get out of my head, you feathered fiend!
Anyway, the film is kind of slow. The stories don't really share a core theme to one another per se. They do, but they don't. It's more like a compilation of shorts than it is an overall thematic whole. I felt the overall tone of the film was very dry, which is, it's a British style film, but just a tinge of the silly spaghetti Italian horror genre for flavor, I guess you could say. Those two do not mesh well, in my opinion. And I think that's why Chris was nonplussed, because he likes his silly to be all aboard. He likes it all in your face. But anyway, and somewhere the clown conductor missed a train. Maybe he was killed by death, and that's why the train crashes and all the men perish at the end of the movie. And again, like I said, I am both Franklin Marsh and Eric Landor, ever entwined in philosophical battle inside my mind until I die. Heaven forbid I ever get a hand chopped off, because I'd probably choke myself to death, as you just saw. Key feature cast members are all decent enough, but I can't say that Cushing or Lee give their regular high standard of performance in this film. They're good, but they're not their top level type
Yeah,
stuff.
that's what I was expecting. And to be honest, did you guys even recognize Peter Cushing at first? Like, it took me 15 minutes to go, oh, wait, that's Peter Cushing.
Okay, but this is funny. This is the funny part I didn't know. This was the first of many such films by Amicus. They did Torture Garden in 1967, The House of Dripped Blood in 1970, Tales from the Crypt in 1972, Asylum in 1972, The Vault of Horror in 1973, and From Beyond the Grave in 1974. Well, after seeing this one, maybe you should watch all of them at a later date and see if they've improved any. Or are they all going to be this cheesy?
Right.
I don't know.
Well, when I first, like I said, after like 10, 15 minutes, and then finally realizing Peter Cushing, what went through my head was, Governor Tarkin, I didn't recognize your stink at all.
Anyone
Your
here
foul stench.
Anyone here ever have an actual tarot card reading?
Nope.
I
have not.
You okay? Not only have I had them, I have a deck, and I have given readings.
Hey, say there, can you do that with me? I'd like to get a tarot reading and see what my future is. Yeah, just
not
tap the deck
like
3
that
times.
though, but no.
Did they have to tap the cards 3 times?
No, it doesn't. It's been so long since I've done them that I'd have to go back and get a sense of what it was, how I do it again, but no, I didn't make them tap the deck 3 times or anything like that. But anyway, is that the original movie poster? As far as I can tell, that is the original movie poster. There was a couple of other ones that were slightly different, but they seem to be more of a theatrical banner posters than the actual traditional poster. Only thing I can say about it is it looks like somebody would later on decided that was a good idea for Skeletor.
Right? Yeah.
Monster fan says the House of Drip Blood is superior, and knowing Monster fans' taste, he's probably correct on that.
I will stick to my 80s horror.
Yeah. Ratings, John, you gave it
4.
Chris, you gave it
2.5.
And I cut the middle and say 3. So I guess I'm being the referee this week.
I'm kind of surprised to hear that I gave it the highest rating.
Well, I think it's exactly your type of horror, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yep. And goes, I was right, which he was, because before the show started, he said 8 out of 10 he was going on a 10-point scale. So 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10, same difference. So
and let's be honest, John. It's no humanoids from the deep.
No, it is not. And for that I say, thank God.
Yep. Okay.
But I only have myself to blame for that one. So
yeah. Well, Chris could have warned you better, I guess. He did try, though.
Yes.
Okay, that's pretty much a show for the night, folks. But next week, we're back to modern day horror.
Yes.
You guys had your fun picking the movie. Now it's back to the professionals picking. We're going to go back to we're going to do the 2024 version of Nosferatu. So we're going to see how that comes out. And this ought to be real interesting because we all want to see this one somehow, which is kind of an interesting thing because a lot of times it's 2 out of 3 and the third one says, okay, but we all want to see this one. So it should be interesting.
Well, the original Nosferatu with Shrek in it was actually a decent film. Mm-hmm. And there's a version of it. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it was on Netflix for the longest time. There's a version of it with like this dark, evil, like German techno soundtrack to it. And it's really interesting. It like makes it like a different movie almost. So it's worth checking out if you ever can find it.
Apparently, Monster Fan's seen it. He's warning us that that's going to be awful.
Well, I like Willem Dafoe too, so
yeah, we'll wait and see how it goes. What you got there? Oh, okay. I didn't realize John had something in his hand to drink there.
Yep.
No problem. Okay, so that'll be it for tonight, folks. We appreciate you watching. Yep, thank you. Will you have a safe and good weekend as well? All of you out there watching. We appreciate you coming as always.
It was nice to have people in the chat this time.
Right? Oh, Monster Fan says he's the best part of the movie, so.
Yeah, William Dafoe is probably, yeah. Okay. If you want to reach out to us on social media, find me at Facebook, Lewis Bright Raven, on the Muskrat channel at Lewis Bright Raven 2. See my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. Please, if you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe it on YouTube, both Raven Lewis Bright Raven. If you have questions or suggestions for films you want us to watch or something like that, or comics that you want us to review, both the Raven LBR72@gmail.com is the primary email. If I don't get back to you, Lewis Bright Raven at yahoo.com. Or if you want to get a hold of John or Chris, it's grayfigaro@hotmail.com for John and Christopher M. Hall, 1973 at gmail.com, or our color commando.
Yeah, we are at your cinematic command. You let us know what you want us to watch, and we will watch it.
Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies. We will look into that for you, Paul. Okay?
I like me a good kung fu movie.
Yeah, we'll look into that. Alrighty. So that's all for now. We thank you again for watching. See you next time. With the Raven. Nevermore.
Nevermore.